We have a ton of breaking news coming out of OpenAI. There's always new drama going on, and this week is no exception. But in addition to that, they're making there's a bunch of new model releases they're teasing with GPT-5. Elon Musk has his $100 billion offer to buy the entire company, which is of course prompted Sam Altman to make some snide tweets, criticizing or I guess making fun of Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition only being worth $10 billion now instead of the $40 billion he bought it for. There's a lot of drama going on. Where do you want to take this today, Connor? What is the most interesting in OpenAI news for you?
I mean, so much, right? I thought just from a consumer standpoint, right? So for all of us out there, I think that the Sam Altman's X post or tweet about the release or upcoming release of 4.5, GPT 4.5, and Orion. That's Orion, I guess, and then GPT-5, because he's talking about a matter of weeks. That's number one. But the other really amazing thing I think about this is just they're finally, Jaeden, they're finally going to start unifying their models together. And so that's probably what is most interesting to me here. I think on the Elon thing, it's just a little crazy. I think Elon's just trying to drive up the price to sort of screw OpenAI a little bit, or screw Sam Altman in particular. But the model stuff is really interesting. So if you guys didn't see it, and maybe you already did, but essentially OpenAI is saying, hey, listen, we're not going to do O3. So right now, listen, problem statement first, right? OpenAI has had, GPT 3.5 and 4 and 4.5 and 5. And then they also have these reasoning models. And then when you do a drop-down menu, Google is guilty of this too, a drop-down menu, there's just tons of different things to choose from. And I don't know exactly how you're supposed to know. And so I think what OpenAI is going for here is it feels like more like a user interface play over everything else, because they could still, of course, have these models existing separately, and they're all extremely powerful. And GPT-4 and GPT-4o exist and work slightly differently from reasoning. So one of the reasons that you don't want to use one of these quote unquote reasoning models all the time is that they just take longer, right? This is O1, O3, all this sort of stuff. And you ask it a question and it says thinking deeply about it. And in a sense, that's what the one great hack of ChatGPT always was, which was take a deep breath and think carefully. They called it chain of thought reasoning. And that actually worked. All the other ones about like, oh, tip it $200, all that kind of stuff, were all sort of garbagey. But this one really worked. And I think they finally figured out that if you actually build that into the model and say, hey, just take some time and think about it. First of all, how crazy is that? Like, we always talk about how human-like this thing is. And just like a human, it just needs more time to think and reason when it's about to answer the question. So it's maybe not as much about the training as it is about what they call inference, which is when it's answering the question. But to me, this is brilliant for one giant reason, which is a lot of people, whether you're just a consumer looking at this giant drop-down menu, or if you are using, AWS, like the cloud or Google Cloud or anything like that, and you're trying to figure out which model should I use, and their, SAP or something is saying, don't worry, we'll choose for you. I think what people want, and I know this if OpenAI is making this giant decision, is just tell me, based on my question, what do you need? Like, if I say, hey, I'm really trying to answer this question about how long it takes an oak tree to grow to maturity, that's pretty simple. If I'm saying, hey, what happened in the Lakers game last night, that requires a different model. If I'm like, hey, listen, I have this giant business plan, I'm trying to come up with a new type of product or a physics question or something, it's going to need reasoning. So instead of me trying to choose, OpenAI's new model is essentially trying to do all that for you. It feels like, to me, a huge user interface solution that I wish more people would do. I'm curious to sort of see how it rolls out. But that, to me, Jaeden, is huge because it's how we use these tools every day.
Yeah, 100%. I'm super excited. I went on a massive rant. I don't even remember if this was on this podcast or another podcast last week about OpenAI's. It was this podcast last week. I went on a massive, it was definitely thanks to me, rant on the naming conventions of ChatGPT. If you were going to go do something, you click the drop-down menu, have GPT-4o, GPT-4o with scheduled tasks, O1, O3 mini, O3 mini high, O1 pro mode. Oh, you can more models and get GPT-4o mini and GPT-4 in temporary chats. Like, I have been going crazy. Please give me the fast version and the really well thought out version. I want two versions. I don't want any of these drop downs anymore. So in light of that, OpenAI seems to be giving us what we're asking for and all the updates that you just mentioned, Connor. But I wanted to read the tweet that someone actually put out because there's some really juicy details in here. So he says, OpenAI roadmap update for GPT 4.5 and GPT 5. He said, we want to do a good job of sharing our intended roadmap and a much better job simplifying our product offerings. Thank you very much. He said,
Right.
we want AI to just work for you. We realize how complicated our model and product offerings have gotten. We hate the model picker as much as you do, and we want to return to magic unified intelligence. We will ship GPT 4.5, the model we called Orion, as our last non-chain of thought model. After that, a top goal of us is to unify O series models and GPT series models by creating systems that can use all of our tools, know when to think for a long time or not, and generally be useful for a very wide range of tasks. Okay, everything we have been absolutely begging for. And this is the kicker. This is what the final they say. In both ChatGPT and AI will release GPT-5 as a system that integrates a lot of our technology, including O3. We'll no longer ship O3 as a standalone model. The free tier of ChatGPT will get unlimited chat access to GPT-5. Incredible. At the standard intelligence settings, of course, subject to abuse thresholds. Plus, subscribers are going to be able to run GPT-5 at a higher level of intelligence, and pro subscribers will be able to run GPT-5 at an even higher level of intelligence. These models will incorporate voice, canvas, search, deep research, and more. Oh my gosh, I am thrilled. Connor, give me your take on all of that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that and you said it at the end there, it's incorporate voice, canvas, deep search, deep research, and more. I think to me, that is the thing that I have been looking for. Of course, and Jaeden, thank you for solving this problem for OpenAI. I'm sure they were listening to OpenAI or
Definitely.
our AI Applied podcast. So everybody thanks to Jaeden. The thing is, a lot of these tools we don't tend to use. It's the user interface problem. It's the behavioral problem. You kind of get used to ChatGPT, and then you forget that, oh, they actually have Canvas. Oh, it has voice, it has search, it has deep research, all that sort of stuff. And by the way, I have not tried OpenAI's deep research yet. I was talking to somebody last night about it who has tried it, and I've watched others try it on demos and things like that. It looks fantastic, but I don't have the $200 a month tier. I just don't see for me, I don't see the value in it right now. But if I had a model that all of a sudden was understanding when it should search the internet, because sometimes if I see it not searching the internet, I'm like, hey, whoa, no, search, because I need to know like what actually happened like right now. Canvas I tend to use only when I sort of remember to use it, which is a great writing tool. But again, it's sort of another step to remember, oh, I'll do it in Canvas instead. Voice, I can't even imagine what that's like when it's going to choose to incorporate that. And also deep research. So if you're saying, hey, I'm trying to, figure out this new idea for whatever, and you're going to use deep research, you have to really remember to use deep research. I'm talking about the Google version, which is what I use. But if this is just saying like, hey, you asked this question, but you know what, kind of the truth is, we're probably going to need to take a couple of minutes to think about this. This is not a quick answer. That would feel amazing to me. So just the fact that it's going to choose that, again, it feels very much like a user interface. Sort of, we were talking to Logan Kilpatrick of Google recently, and this is what he was talking about as well. Gemini, everything else is now built into the tools you use every day. And for ChatGPT to become something that you want to live in and you don't really need to leave very often, it has all these things like tasks and the ability to write, the ability to do all these things. But it has to work so that if you just talk to it, it feels like your assistant. It feels like you just ask for something. Like you wouldn't talk to your new assistant and say, hey, I need you to write this white paper, but don't forget to do some research and don't forget to ask her. That's not how you work with humans. And I think that Jaeden, the thing that excites me the most about this is that it's starting to feel, I think, just slightly more like what it would be like to work with a human. And that's, I think, where AI is going in general.
Yeah, I think this is phenomenal. This is the way to go. I mean, internally at AI Box, we're building these same tools that you mentioned where we combine the AI models. We'll just do it with all AI models instead of just OpenAI ones. But like this had to be a feature we launched with, which was a unified way to access everything and just have a model that knew what you were talking about. So that I'm very, very excited about, and I think they're on 100% the right track. You mentioned Logan Kilpatrick. I'll give him a big shout out because he's the top comment, it looks like, under Sam Altman's post. He said, nice, this has always been our plan with Gemini. Make sure the reasoning capabilities are part of the base model, not a side quest. 2.0 flash thinking. So I actually do think Google, and I did give them their flowers last week, is doing a good job of incorporating this just straight into the models. All I want is, the best model and maybe the most efficient model if I'm trying to get something done fast. Sometimes I do like intentionally choose. I don't think I intentionally choose like the mini models, but I'll use like GPT 4.0 or something because I know it can just get me something faster if I don't want to wait like 3 minutes. If I really want to be right and I care about it, then I'll choose that. So it's kind of like it depends what you're going for. And I bet you can add that like once they incorporate this all into one package. I do when you talk to the model in the prompt, you can say you just give it little triggers that will tell it which model to use. So, and I think we'll all get used to that. So it's gonna be like really quickly tell me X, Y, and Z, and then it'll give you this one. Or it could say, tell me X, Y, and Z. Really take your time to think about it and make sure your answer is right. And then it's gonna go to like the O1 Pro model. So this is what I think is the solution. This is kind of what we're looking at AI Box as well. I'm really excited about this. This is phenomenal. And the most exciting thing from this entire chain was one of the top comments as well was shout out to Chubby, who said any ETA on GPT 4.5, GPT 5, weeks, months, and Sam Altman responded and said weeks/months. So we could be getting this very soon, and I for one am absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, excited to test it out. Excited to sort of see how different it feels, and if people can, because we've heard a lot that it's not going to be the big jump, from 3.5 to 4. So, let's see, because expectations are being set, I think, purposefully a little lower by releasing 4.5 first and then 5. Jaeden, in our final 60 seconds or so, listen, Elon Musk put out a bid. Nobody thinks he's serious. It looks like he's just trying to drive up the price on Sam Altman. Hot take. What's your Elon hot take on this?
My Elon hot take is that we're converting OpenAI from a nonprofit to a for-profit. Obviously, tons of drama, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about it extensively, so I won't bore you on that. The interesting thing is some journals were reporting that it was going to convert, and essentially what was going to happen was the for-profit was going to buy this asset from the nonprofit, this asset, which is ChatGPT and all their AI, for $10 billion, which is a little crazy considering I think their latest valuation they raised was like 84 billion or something like that. So
valuations are like 300 billion or something like that with the 40 million, if they get the 40 billion raise.
Right? That's true. They're working on one. I think the last one they closed, right? Unless I'm
yeah. Yes, exactly.
So with that being said, Elon Musk came out and I think put out, a public offer to buy this thing for almost $100 billion, 90 something billion dollars. And the reason why that's interesting is because is he actually serious about buying it? I mean, I think he probably has people that would back him on it, especially if they're currently trying to raise it to 300 billion. So really that's probably a great deal, right? You're getting it for a third of what their future raises. And of course, Sam Altman tweeted and said like, no, thank you or whatever. So like there's lots of drama there. But I think the reason he did that is probably just to force them in their convert to a for-profit to have to essentially pay the $100 billion, which is probably more work. It's more difficult. They actually probably have to come up with money or structure some sort of debt deal. Whereas before they kind of had this token price amount because they're like, we're not really changing anything. We're just changing our numbers and our paperwork. We're going to kind of pay this token. Like the $10 billion, I think is a lot easier because they've raised a lot of money. They probably had that, like they may have had that in cash. They could just kind of transfer some funds and get it done with. As soon as it's $100 billion, even though I'm sure they can get the job done either way, they have to, it's just going to be way more complicated for them. So Elon said he'll retract his bid, meaning if he retracts his bid, he could go back to just doing the $10 billion transfer if they promise to not transfer from a nonprofit for profit, which of course Sam Altman doesn't want to do. So this is quite a funny pickle to be in at the moment, in my opinion.
It's amazing. No, I mean, listen, we could talk about this all day. Also, it's just exciting. Although I think people were really giving Elon a lot of credit for like really throwing a genuine wrench in the works. Like usually he's just like sort of like all blather, but this could cost people billions of dollars. So I guess well done, Elon. I don't know, but anyway, always fun to watch this relationship take hold and capture our attention. Listen, if you have enjoyed this episode, we always love the ratings and reviews, but mostly we just love that you tune in. It's great to have you here, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.